Last September, my uncle Daniel, 43, came up to me, 22, looking all stressed, and asked if I could sit down with him as he needed a favour. He began to speak about how he was really in a rough financial spot, and he really had nowhere to turn as he didn't have anyone to ask for a loan from, and I was the only one left available. I'm not rich or anything of the sort, I just happened to have the amount he needed at the time. According to him, it was a serious situation, and he couldn't approach or tell other guys in the family. The issue needed to be addressed soon. Without better judgment, I lent him the cash after much insistence from him. We agreed on payment before December, and I didn't even ask for interest. With lots of hugs and words, he took it and gave me his word on paying for it. Fast forward, and we're now at Christmas dinner at my grandma's house, and all that time I didn't give him any reminders or a checkup. I assumed he was late or something, and he would tell me why at Christmas dinner, because the larger family meets yearly for that. He also didn't call or say anything to update me on his situation, and I just had to trust all was well. Now, on a related side note for later, my cousin Aisha, 20, Daniel's daughter, recently underwent surgery a while back as she really had it tough for the whole of last year while she recovered from a traumatic back injury from an accident. Everyone was enjoying their meal, and suddenly my uncle stood up at the dinner table and called for attention for a speech. He began to speak about how his business took a really huge boost, and long story short, he has just cashed in a large profit from some deals. He looked at Aisha across the table, took out a brochure with some resort-looking location, and said it was a gift to her for her tough recovery from the incident. All I could see was Aisha visibly crazy excited. Someone asked what it was exactly, and Daniel said he was planning on taking Aisha and the rest of his family to the Maldives to celebrate Aisha's accident recovery. Everyone was now happily cheering Aisha on her gift, as it seemed it was something she always wanted to experience. "You can afford all that but not repay my debt, which you haven't said anything about." The words just slipped out of my subconscious mind as I looked him straight in the eye. His words were, "Why are you talking about that now, of all places?" Now I was angry. I reminded him in front of everyone of the exact amount and told him that he wasn't even communicating about repaying it. The entire family was in shock and dead silence as my mom hurriedly changed the subject to avoid escalating the situation. Later on in the evening, my aunt, grandma and some cousins began to lecture me on how I ruined Aisha's moment after her struggles and embarrassed my uncle in the process. They leave in a week and he still hasn't paid or mentioned anything on the debt. Am I wrong for ruining the moment and asking for repayment? Am I the idiot for confronting my uncle on a $700 debt while he brags to his family about a surprise vacation to Maldives for his daughter? Not the idiot. Never loan money to family because they're never going to pay you back crap. Your uncle is an idiot, and you should feel free to talk back to his face until he pays you back, which will never be. He never intended to pay you back, and that's why he wanted it secretly. I'm sorry. Also, if anyone comes at you again about embarrassing your uncle, ask them if they plan on paying off his debt. If not, they may wish to redirect their anger towards the man who brags about his wealth with borrowed money. And shame on Aisha for pouting when her dad is essentially stealing from relatives. I'm guessing the business isn't doing well. Disagree. You are the idiot for blurting it out in front of your cousin at that very moment. She's been through a lot and this was a happy moment for her that turned sour. Apologise to your cousin for the bad timing, propose to do something nice together, just the two of you, to cheer her up and celebrate her, and send your uncle an invoice with incurred interests and a deadline, after which you'll take him to small claims court or whatever the equivalent is in your own country. Next time, think twice before lending large sums of money to someone without a legal contract. Protect yourself. Correct. When the uncle returned from vacation, he would be greeted with a very nice summons to appear in small claims court. Let him tell the judge exactly why the trip to the Maldives took priority over the loan repayment. Play stupid games and win stupid prizes. I, 31 female, have been married to my husband, 33 male, for 6 years. Before we got married, we had a clear agreement that we wouldn't have kids. I've never wanted to be a parent, and I thought he felt the same way. About 2 years ago, he started changing his mind. At first, it was little comments like, "Wouldn't it be fun to have a little one running around?" Then it turned into serious conversations where he said he couldn't imagine his life without being a dad. I told him I still didn't want kids, but he kept saying, "You'd be such a great mom," or "You might feel different once it's your own." Eventually I gave in. I figured he was right and I didn't want to lose my marriage over this. Now we have a baby, and while I love my child, I can't shake the feeling that this life isn't what I wanted. I'm constantly exhausted, my career has taken a back seat, and I feel trapped in a role I didn't ask for. My husband, on the other hand, is thriving. He loves being a dad but works long hours, leaving most of the parenting to me. Recently, I told him I was struggling and felt like I was pressured into this. He got upset and said I was being unfair because I agreed to have the baby. He thinks I just need to adjust and stop dwelling on what I wanted before. I feel guilty for feeling this way, and I don't want my child to ever feel unloved, but I can't help but resent my husband for pushing me into something I was so clear about not wanting. Am I the idiot? Men want babies the same way kids want a puppy. Ultimately, you're the one who takes care of it, and they just play with it sometimes until they're bored. Tell him to give up his career and stay home with the baby. Not the idiot. Your husband needs to step up for the kid he wanted. Take care for the baby and get your career back on track. He loves being a dad because he isn't home most of the time, and nothing has changed concerning his career. His days are basically the same as before the baby, except for whatever time he spends with the child. He got what he wanted, has had little change in his routine, his job is unaffected, and he doesn't seem to care how you feel. OP, resentment will eat you alive. Take back your life and what you wanted for it. That is great advice, but it's not always easy. I was raised by a mother who didn't want me, and I promised myself that I wouldn't have children. I married a man who told me he understood and agreed. Now we're getting divorced because he changed his mind. Daycare isn't cheap, and lots of mothers feel guilty about leaving their kids there. It is not easy. I'm sorry for OP, and I hope she finds a way to make it work. I was paying my child's mother directly at $600 a month, same time every month. Still, she would barely let me talk to my child and refused to let me see her. Ever. It was always a back and forth. She was too busy, or I was disrespecting her, after I would get rightfully frustrated and voice my frustrations. I started dating a woman whose best friend is a lawyer, and she educated me on my rights as a father. I was never on the birth certificate because I didn't find out about my child until she was a few months old. I believe another guy is on my child's birth certificate. The friend gave me a play-by-play. She told me I should establish paternity and then put myself on child support and then get a court order allowing me all the custody I wanted, within reason. I already sent money, so I did what she advised. My child's mother fought till the end. She argued that I didn't have enough of a relationship with my child to get 50-50. The judge agreed, but also acknowledged that the lack of relationship was her doing. I was granted visitation, holidays, scheduled phone calls, and reunification therapy for parental alienation. She also asked for back pay. I showed the proof of payments that I'd made each month at the same time. When the judge asked her about them, she and her legal counsel said they were gifts and were not specified as child support, and legally she was allowed to do that crap. There was nothing the judge could do, but fortunately he only granted her back pay for a year. I became the potential idiot because it took the child support office 4 months to review our case. I started paying my girlfriend's best friend for legal advice, not necessarily representing me, more like consults, and she advised me not to make any payments to her directly. She's already shown that she will deny it when she's asked if I made the payments, and she's likely to claim them as a gift. I was informed that there's been an error with the case entry and that they're working to get it fixed, but they weren't sure when the payments would start coming out of my checks. My child's mother is calling me the idiot for not sending the money and accusing me of letting my child struggle. I told her she was the reason for this, but she was more than welcome to send my child to live with me. My friends and family are on my side, of course. It's the opposite for hers. At my last pickup, she and her friend and mom referred to me as the deadbeat in front of our child. I don't want to send her another dime and be in the negatives, more than I already am, because of her lies. So far, I owe her almost $10,000, even though I technically should only owe her $2,400 since the case started, because I'm only actually behind 4 months. All this is because I want to see my child. So I'm asking, am I the idiot? Edit to add, I've done 2 DNA tests. One was an at-home test and one was court-ordered so that I could establish paternity. When I would Cash App her, it always said, child support for child's name, and she was still able to claim it as a gift. Also, now that I have a child support order, I'm going to try legal aid again to see if it lowered my income enough to qualify and get a lawyer to contest the back pay. Willing to jump through all the hoops I have to, but it's overwhelming, no doubt. Obviously not the idiot. Your child's mother is a monster and her calling you names is irrelevant. Her opinion is useless and doesn't need any consideration. Oh, but her family thinks you're the bad guy too? Who cares what those losers think? Again, discard any opinions they have, pay from the proper channels only, and don't give her a dime any other way. You screwed yourself in part, and legally she was allowed to do that crap. Legally, she was allowed to do this crap because you did nothing proactive to cover yourself or secure custody. You didn't even seek out legal advice here. It fell into your lap via your girlfriend's friend. If you're not going to take responsibility for informing yourself, crap like this is going to happen from time to time. If the Cash App specifically stated child support, how could they allow her to claim it as a gift? The fact that a judge would support that ridiculous gift argument makes me furious. Women who use their kids as a weapon and a paycheck should lose custody. My hope for you is a fabulous ongoing relationship with your child built on trust, love, and consistency. A few months ago, a good friend of mine asked if she could book a vacation property that my family owns for a family ski trip she was planning. This included her husband, her parents, her brother, and his girlfriend. I said of course and let them stay for free too, as I know their family really well. However, a week ago, I started receiving extremely nasty messages from the brother's girlfriend. For context, I used to be in a pretty serious relationship with my friend's brother, being together in undergrad and medical school, though we broke up more than 4 years ago now due to having different life goals. It was quite amicable on both sides, and while I wouldn't call us friends, we still wish each other happy birthdays and happy holidays when they come around. Imagine my surprise when I checked my phone after getting off work and saw 15 messages from my ex. They turned out to be from his girlfriend, who was, I guess, messaging me from his phone. She somehow got the idea that I was joining them on their family vacation and was extremely upset, cussing me out and telling me to stop trying to interfere in her relationship. I was really taken aback as the only time I met her, she seemed pretty nice, and as I mentioned earlier, I barely talked to my ex. I simply replied that she'd misunderstood, that I wasn't joining them on their vacation, and that my only connection to their vacation was that my family owned the property they would be staying at. However, she continued to be rude and accusatory, so I just blocked my ex's number. She then started going around and messaging me on other socials of mine, and I also resorted to blocking her. This lasted about a week, and it took me blocking her on basically every site that has a way to message people so that it would stop. This has been a very upsetting situation, and now I don't want her staying at my family's property. However, I also would feel very bad messing up and potentially ruining their family vacation plans and punishing everyone when I really only have an issue with the girlfriend. Not the idiot. Do not allow this woman on your family's property, and be clear with your friend and their family on why they are no longer welcome. Make a screenshot of that garbage and share it with everybody. When people tell you who they are, believe them and make sure everyone else gets to hear about it too. She dug her own grave with her bad actions. Completely agree. You should go and speak to your friend and her parents. Show them all the messages and things she's been saying. I would then follow it up with, as much as I wanted to let you guys stay at the house, if the girlfriend comes, I won't be able to. If she acts this unhinged over a miscommunication, I worry about what she will do to my family's house now that she knows whose home it is. I don't want my family to pay because of a problem I'm having with my ex's girlfriend. I hope you can all understand. I, female 25, have been dating my boyfriend, male 27, for 11 months. He lives with his siblings and I visit regularly, but I don't stay there full-time nor sleep over every night. Recently, his siblings asked me to help pay part of his share of the household bills, like electricity and water, because I've been there often. I told them I was uncomfortable contributing since I was just visiting and didn't live there. I don't use the utilities the way they do, and my boyfriend hasn't asked me to pay anything. Now they're upset with me and things are awkward. Here's the thing. My boyfriend recently lost his job and has been going through a tough time. He's always supported everyone's household expenses, including food and utilities. I've been helping cover his food and other personal needs during this time. I feel like his siblings, especially since they're all working, should step up and help him with the household expenses now that he's struggling. They've benefited from his sacrifices for years, and I just think it's time for them to return the favour. Am I wrong for refusing to pay and expecting them to help him now? Additional info, I do visit there after work but not consistently, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight max, use of electricity, maybe the fan, no cooking, no fridge because if we need to eat I already buy cooked food before going, for use of the water, toilet flush, no showering. Not the idiot, the entitled siblings have approached you because their golden goose has lost his job. It would be more beneficial for them to wind their necks in and actually contribute to the household. Why on earth has your boyfriend paid for all of those expenses? Your boyfriend's siblings are awful. Since when does a visitor have to pay for utilities and household expenses at someone else's house? You don't owe them anything. As for your boyfriend, his siblings took advantage of him when he had income by expecting him to shoulder most of the household costs. What did they do with their money during that time if they weren't equally paying the bills? They need to pay the household bills themselves now. Is there a reason you go over there so frequently? Don't you have your own place or live with your parents? If you're there every day after work, then that's 5 days a week at least. You may not be cooking there, but you're another person in their space, using the living room, the TV, the plates, etc. And it's all time. At this point, you're sleeping and eating breakfast at home, going to work, and then spending all your free time at his place. My verdict is everyone's an idiot here except the boyfriend, who we hear very little about. You're an idiot for not realizing you're there so often that you are no longer a guest. The siblings are idiots for not supporting their brother after he helped them. You should stop going over and have your boyfriend come to you. That way, there's no way the siblings will have any reason to ask you for anything.